All right, so 2 Kings 13:20, the prophet is dead. It's at the beginning of the year. Then in verses 21, it came to pass as they were burying a man, this is another man, that behold, they spied a band of men, and they cast the man into the sepulchre of Elisha. And when the man was let down and touched the bones, notice Elisha had been dead so long, there were nothing but bones there. I'll tell you what bones represent in just a minute. Amen. Somebody shout, he was anointed to the bone. Good to the bone. Come on, somebody. Hallelujah. He revived and stood up on his feet. Somebody shout, a dead man touched a deader man. I know that ain't good English, but it's an English class. I know they say ain't a word, but I just said it twice. And when I say saint, I say ain't every time because it's insane. I still believe there's a Pluto out there in outer space too. Come on, somebody. Amen. Listen, after this right here, when they throw this dead man into the sepulchre, the tomb of the deader man called Elisha, all he's got is bones left into a skeleton cave. That dead man touches the skeleton, the bones of a dead prophet that's so anointed to his bone. The dead man gets it. Nowhere do you read about the guys that were carrying the dead man. Nowhere. You talk about booking or getting out of dogs, like I said the other night. You don't see them no more because I believe they got scared out of their mind. They took up. They left the story. They're no longer in the story. They run slam out of the pages. Let me see it and heard from them more. Don't laugh because you know if you saw somebody's dead body that just died, be thrown into the grave of somebody else's body that wasn't nothing but bones, and the person that was dead after touching dead bones stood up and said, howdy. I promise you wouldn't keep your sanity. Amen. I promise you, amen, Lord God, you'd show some emotion. I believe you might, though you against people falling out, you might but just fall out. Come on, somebody shout, what a miracle. It used the word revive, not just awake, but revive. Somebody shout, this is the very foundation of revival. Oh, I heard the Holy Ghost say one time, he said, Marvin, what would happen if those who were dead in sin came in contact with those of mine that was dead to sin? Because in 2 Kings 13, Joash is hitting the ground 3 times. The prophet's last words before he dies is you ought to struck it 5 or 6 times. 6 plus 5 plus 3 is 14. It's a foundation, it's a prophetic word that's being set up for a year called 14. Because he should have saw 14 major miracles, but Elisha died only seeing 13. But he was prophesying about the 14th one. When it died is when the 14th one took place. And God is saying with similarities, Lord God, by the Spirit of the Lord, that if we can get dead to our flesh, where all that's left is the bone. God said tonight, there's a world that's dead in sin. If they ever come in contact with my people that have become so dead to sin, there'll be a revival. Hello? I'm going to say a revival that. And this revival, like with these men that was carrying him, they run off. Some revivals, the real revival will run some folk off. You ain't in a revival if somebody ain't going to run off. I had a man one time walk up to me after I preached a revival, and a few weeks afterward, and they gave me a check. It's a small church. Amen. But it was a decent, amen, check. I've never said anything about money when I go anywhere. People have said, how much you going to charge? I said, I don't. I'll charge right in there. Glory to God. Another little $12. I'll pay it's $2,000 or $2,000. Come on, somebody. God's my employer. Come on, church. He'll take care of me if I'll do what he says to do. Amen. I have been places where I got a handshake and prayed, God, how am I going to get home? But I got home. I left one day after getting rained out and couldn't put my big tent up. Amen. And me and my son left the property where we was leaving from. And he said, Daddy, because he knew. He said, how are we going to get back home? It's almost 80 miles. He said, you told me before we got here, this is all the gas you had and you didn't have no money. I said, son, I've prayed, and that's all I know to tell you. I said, God's going to have to do something. I said, the Holy Ghost knows what we got to do before we can even ask him, Matthew 6 and 8. All of a sudden, I'm driving and I'm staring at E and I'm prophesying F. By faith, I'm prophesying full. Well, the needle ain't moving, but we still going. And so, and this was without money in my pocket. I don't advise you to do this if you got money in your pocket and you passing by gas stations. Or if you did like I did a few weeks ago, me and my son coming back from preaching, been riding all day, did about 200 miles. And we was talking so much in the cab of my truck that I failed to notice the little needle. You know that little needle up there in the dashboard, you know, and it'd been on E and there was a little light on. And I didn't know how long it'd been on because I hadn't been looking. I hadn't been paying attention. But when that truck went, it got my attention. So we got home about 2.5 hours late, and I found out my wife really loves me because she was mad as a dickens. Come on, somebody, but she had to drive a long way to get us some gas. And I witnessed and talked with policemen that was sitting out there feeling sorry for us and stopping by and giving them CDs. And amen. Oh, glory. But here I was praying. I said, son, that's all I know to do. I'm praying. All of a sudden, my phone rings. Hello? Hey, Brother Marvin. I said, hey, how you doing? He said, where are you at today? I told him. He said, man, I'm right down from you right here at this store. He said, stop here, man. I got something for you. I said, what you mean? He said, just stop. All right. I stop in there, and he walks out. I ain't got one in my pocket. I still got a faithful Abraham there. You know, blessed Washington. He comes more than any of them. And he pulled out $100 bill. See, I don't have one enough sometimes. I don't forget who's on it. But he pulled that $100 bill out in cash. And he walks up to me. He said, I was trying to find where you was at today. He said, because God told me and my wife this morning in prayer to give this to you. And he said, I'm just now getting around to it. He said, I should have done called you. I said, no, brother, believe me, you right on time. Say nothing to him about it. I did later on. I talked to him a little while, and I walked on in the store like I was there on purpose to do something. I let him leave. Come on, somebody. Hallelujah. And I told my son, I said, get to the gas pump now. And we got home. Somebody say faith in God. I've been driving 2 weeks one time back in the late 90s on empty. With a 1970 Chevrolet with a 350 come on engine and a Holly 4-barrel and a Trans Am, amen, gear shift in the floorboard that shifts sideways. Come on, somebody, and it catch gears, amen, all three of them. I'm talking about a gas guzzling thing. You talk about a miracle. 2 weeks driving around on that thing. And I was about to get where I was coming. What it was, I was telling the stores in that community, and eventually it did happen. They were selling nasty magazines, Playboy and Penthouse and all that kind of stuff. And I told them, they thought I was crazy. I said, I ain't buying no more gas from you until you get that junk out of here. God answered my prayer at one of them stores where I lived at, and eventually it was gone. And that's why I boycotting. I said, I ain't buying no gas. You crazy. You can't run off of that. I did. I run off of faith and obedience in God. Come on, somebody. For 2 more weeks. And I was almost at the house one day. Amen. And coming home from work. And I was driving up to the house. This is the early 90s. I said late 90s. Early 90s. I'm driving up to my house, almost in the yard. And a thought of doubt went through my mind. Well, what if? Or maybe I should give in to this. Maybe I should just... and all of a sudden my truck went... to slap myself in the mouth and think, put it back in there. Why did you say that? I stopped God's power with my mouth. Amen. I don't know why I'm saying all that, but listen, he got run off. The men did. Got run off when this dead man was raised from the dead. And he was revived from touching the dead bones of Elisha the prophet. So what would happen if a world that's dead in sin would touch a church that was dead to sin again? Their flesh was so crucified and they were so up to the move of God. Somebody say revival would happen. And revival runs some of these men off. You never see them in the storyline again. They're gone. I had that man walk up to me I was telling you about, and I just preached revival for him, and he shook my hand past the room, and he put some more money in my hand. And I said, man, you done gave me a check for the revival. He said, no, we've talked and discussed that we need to give you more. I said, why? He said, because you run off a man when you come and preached at our church.
All right.
I said, so you mean you giving me an extra offering because something my preacher said run somebody off? He said, yeah, we're so glad. I said, why? He said, because this man, every time we try to go forward and do anything for God, come on somebody, hallelujah. He said he opposed it, he would fight against it, always cause confusion to the level that it would just cause us to throw in the towel and give up, amen, on the efforts of what we were trying to do, God was telling us to do. He was there by the spirit of the enemy, he said, but he got so mad at you because of what you preached, amen, and said you were a false prophet. He left, and when he did, our church started blessing, our church started growing, miracles started happening, we started getting blessings, and all kind of stuff going on. So we agreed, you're the one responsible in that revival for running that devil out of there. You know, some people the devil's trying to get out of. Hallelujah. Sometimes you have to run the devil off and the person he's in. Somebody said a real revival's got to run somebody off. Come on, somebody. It's a preacher when you get a revival going on and some people get mad and leave. Somebody say that's the way it happened. So this is what the Holy Ghost showed me. The 14th miracle took place after the prophet was dead. And the 14th was the fulfillment of the double portion. Galatians 2:20, the Bible said, we're crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live. But not I, but Christ lives in me, and the life that I live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God that loved me and gave himself for me. Paul said, I'm crucified with Christ. He said, but I'm still alive. So when I'm talking about being dead, he said, I'm talking about a death that causes you to become alive. And he said, the life I'm now living, I'm still in my flesh. Come on. I'm living in my flesh, but I'm not living by my flesh. My flesh is not the dictator over my life anymore. Come on, somebody. He said, I'm crucified to this world, and the world unto me, and I only glory except in the cross of Christ, Galatians 6:14. But he's saying now in Galatians 2:20, the life I now live in the flesh, listen to this, I live by the faith of the Son of God that loved me and gave himself for me. How did Jesus love and give himself for me? Somebody shut on the cross. So he was preaching a cross-filled message, and he also connected that cross-filled message and death and denial to self and taking up your cross, and he also brought up the subject of this, the faith of Jesus. He said, the life I now live in the flesh, since I'm dead to the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God. Let me tell you where miracles are. Miracles don't necessarily just happen because of our faith in God. Real miracles happen when the faith of God gets in us. There's our faith in God, and then there's the faith of God in us. Paul didn't say he just had faith in God. He said, now since I'm dead to my will, my ways, my flesh, he said, now the faith of Christ, the faith of God's now in me, operating through me. Do you see the difference? It's not just faith in God that's in me, it's